we first use a Dremel to saw off the edges holding the back cover onto the lock, like this. This exposed the back plate, which we were able to pry off with some work. The back plate was originally attached to the bar and second and third tumblers. This polished part here on the back plate is where we filed off the part of the bar which held them together. Right here is where the spring should be. That pushes the second and third tumblers towards the first here so that the tumblers interact with each other and spin. The plastic rings here serve two functions. One is to keep the tumblers separated so that they catch only the knob. The other is to prevent damage to the metal as different pieces rub against each other. This piece right here is called the shackle collar. Right now the shackle can move from side to side, but if we place the back plate back on, like this, the shackle collar fits into the groove right there, and it prevents the lock from moving sideways, or the shackle from moving sideways. So now what's left, if we take this out, is the shackle, the shell, and the lever. This still leaves us with a simple lock. As you can see, around this side, it's locked here, but if we turn it to 6, it opens. So we can push it back in, lock it. So here's how this works. When we turn the dial, the first tumbler spins around, and so the lever is prevented from moving up unless the slot on the tumbler is aligned so that the back of the lever can slide in, like that. So now also notice that over here on the side, where this part of the lever rubs against the side of the shell, is greased, so that's the white stuff on the bottom. It's not as visible anymore now that we've been playing with it. So now if we take everything else out, so we take out the shackle and the lever, we're left with just the shell. So we can actually see one shortcoming here if we put these back in. If you notice how there's actually a reason why the first tumbler has ridges around the side. That's because if we put everything back in, so we just slide the shackle back in here. If we pull up on the shackle while turning the knob, we notice that it locks at certain points. So you can't move it anymore here, so if you slide it back in and pull up, it locks here again. So one feature is that it locks right where the lever fits into the first tumbler. So if the grooves were not there, then you'd easily be able to find the digit of the last of the last part of the combination easily. As it is, you can still narrow it down to roughly 12 different possibilities, and from there, by comparing these numbers, you can find the one digit that is the last in the combination. So so let's put this back together and look at the lock using all 3 tumblers. So notice that the tumblers have their knobs positioned in different places. The position of these knobs is what makes the combination unique. So if we put them together, also the order that we put the tumblers in will affect the combination. We're gonna put these plastic bands in between so that the tumblers run smoothly together. And so to understand how the tumblers work, we're gonna first look at these two here. So notice that the first one spins on its own up to an entire turn before it catches on, before the 2 knobs right there catch on, and both the tumblers begin to spin. So by turning the tumbler one way and then the other, we can align it so that the grooves fit in the same spot. So this is how we're gonna open the lock. So let's put the tumblers back in first, closing the shackle. So now let's spin the lock to mix it up. Normally the back of the spindle would be held in place by the back plate, and the spring would be here where my fingers are to push the tumblers forward. I'll be holding it instead so that we can see what's going on. So the instructions on the combination lock tell you to first spin the lock 3 times to the right. This is to guarantee that the third tumbler moves. So also notice that the tumblers are going to align from back to front. So we spin it, now the third tumbler begins to move. Once it's lined up with the back of the lever, we can turn it the other way, at least 1 full turn, so that the second tumbler begins to move. So once we get that lined up right there, we turn the dial the other way until the first shackle, the first tumbler, sorry, is lined up with the other two and with the back of the lever. So now we pull up and it unlocks.